Hello students, welcome to Legacy IS Academy. In today's video, we are going to continue with the series we have started, that is the climatic regions of the world. And the third climatic region we are going to discuss today is the Mediterranean climatic region, that is around the Mediterranean Sea. So first of all, to have a brief introduction about this particular region, we can say that this is believed to be one of the major climatic type that has been given as per the Köppen classification. It is characterized by hot, dry summers and cool, wet winter. This is the most distinct characteristic which you have to remember as far as this particular climatic region is concerned. That means in the summertime, it is dry. It means that there is no rainfall in the summer, while it is winter during the winter times. The Mediterranean zone receive heavy rainfall. The reason behind this we'll discuss in the coming time. Third, we can talk about in terms of distribution. It is situated somewhere between 30° north to 45° north and 30° south to 45° south latitude and on the western margins or western side of the continental landmasses. Thus, in the other word, it is also being referred as the warm temperate western margin climate. So again, warm because most of time the climate here is warm in nature. Temperate because as far as the latitudes are concerned, it is situated in the temperate zone, and western margin because the climatic region is situated to the western side, the western coast of the continental land masses. So to understand that what are the major areas of the world that come under the Mediterranean climatic region. So first of all, obviously, as we can see in this shaded figure of the world map, this area, this is our Mediterranean Sea. So both on the south of Mediterranean, a small strip of the landmass in the northern Africa, and then a large landmass that is on the northern part of Mediterranean Sea, extending all the way from the Portugal in the west to the Israel in the east. This is overall location of the Mediterranean climatic region as far as the Mediterranean Sea is concerned. Then this part of the particular climate also exists in North America, and as we can see from this particular shaded part, this is situated in California, somewhere around San Francisco region of North America or United States of America. If we talk about the southern hemisphere, so three distinct regions are there. One, we can see the central part of Chile, which is a country in the South America. In South Africa, it is also found in a very narrow strip in the southernmost part of the South Africa around Cape Town region. And then in the southernmost strip of Australia around Adelaide region, we also have development of Mediterranean climate. So as you can see, the largest area which come under this climatic type lies around Mediterranean Sea, and that is why the climate is called as Mediterranean climate. While here and there in different continents also, we have very small part of land masses under this particular climatic region. Now the question comes that why this kind of climatic region has developed. So first of all, three regions we can cite here. As we know that sun continue to move between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn apparently due to the revolution of the earth around the sun, and this apparent movement of sun between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, while it passes through two times over the equator, causes change in the seasons in both northern and southern hemisphere. Thus, we have summer season in the northern hemisphere. At that time, we have winter in the southern hemisphere. And when we have summer season in winter, southern hemisphere, we have the winter season in the northern hemisphere. So due to this apparent movement of sun that causes development of two different seasons, we see a shift of global pressure belt that largely develops due to temperature difference on different part of the world. So let us try to understand this in more detail. So for example, if we talk about in the times of March and September, when the sun is overhead equator, the pressure belts are somehow situated around this region, where around equator we have low pressure area, around 25° to 30° north we have high pressure area, and beyond 35 to 40° again we have a low pressure. But when summer season comes somewhere around June, we know that during summer what happens, the sun moves toward Tropic of Capricorn Cancer from the equator, and this northward movement of the sun also causes a northward movement or northward shift of the pressure belt. Thus low pressure area shifts slightly to the north, high pressure area thus shifts slightly to the north, and thus again the other low pressure area also shifts slightly to the north. Not only that, when the sun is moving from equator toward Tropic of Capricorn during the northern hemisphere winter, that time the pressure belt start to shift toward the south, and thus equatorial low pressure belt shift to the south, and thus the other pressure belt also shifts slightly toward the equator. In other terms, what we can say, during the apparent northward movement of the sun from the equator, the global pressure belt shifts slightly toward the poles. northern poles, and in the winter season when the sun is apparently moving toward tropic Capricorn, the pressure belts in the northern hemisphere slightly shift toward the equator. Now this shift in the pressure belt actually causes the Mediterranean zone to come under the influence of two different kind of winds, and this is what gives rise to the distinct season, distinct climate of the Mediterranean zone. So what is the climatic characteristic we are talking about as far as the Mediterranean climatic region is concerned? So first of all, in terms of temperature, the Mediterranean zone enjoys dry, warm summer and wet, cold winters, as well as lot of local winds also develop here. In the summer season especially, what kind of winds do we see in the Mediterranean climatic region? So the answer will be that we see offshore trade winds. Now what is offshore trade winds? Simple. If suppose this is your land mass and around this area you have the water body. So when the wind is moving from the land toward the sea, it is moving away from the coast. And these kind of winds are called as offshore winds. And in this Mediterranean zone, these winds, offshore winds are trade winds. And that is why it is referred as offshore trade winds, which are the characteristic feature of Mediterranean climatic region in the summer season. But when the winter season comes, the wind changes its direction. And rather than blowing from the land to water, now the wind start to move from water to the land or from the Atlantic Ocean toward the continental Europe, and these causes onshore movement of wind, which are referred as westerlies wind, as they're moving from west to east, and these are the wind that develop in the winter season, which is responsible for the rainfall. So let us try to understand this again on the diagram that we have drawn here. For example, if you look at this is our Mediterranean climate, for example. So when the sun is moving toward north, what happens? This Mediterranean zone, as you can see, come under the influence of trade winds, because here we have Mediterranean region. So as the sun moves to the north, pressure belts shift to the north, and thus Mediterranean region is basically being covered by the northeasterly trade winds. And obviously, since these trade winds are moving away from the land toward the sea, they are basically dry winds that do not cause any kind of rainfall, and that is why the summer season in Mediterranean zone is kind of dry season. But during the northern hemisphere winter, as the sun shifts to the south, the pressure belt also shifts to the south, and as we can see now, the Mediterranean land come under the influence of westerlies wind. And since the westerlies wind are moving from sea to land, they carry with themselves a lot of moisture, and when they finally enter the Mediterranean zone, they causes rainfall here due to their moisture present in it. So that is why what we have discussed, the offshore trade winds in summer causes dry condition, while the onshore westerlies wind in the winter causes rainy condition, rainfall like conditions in the Mediterranean climatic region. So this is a distinct climatic characteristic of the Mediterranean region. Now, not only the permanent winds that are blowing through this region, we also have several local winds that develop here. The reason behind development of local wind is very, very simple, because if you look at the map of Mediterranean region, there is large number of diverse features you will find here. For example, you have a lot of mountains, you have plateaus, you also have large seas such as Mediterranean Sea in between two continental land masses of Africa and continental Europe. You also have large body of water such as Atlantic Ocean. So this diverse feature that exists around Mediterranean region causes development of or causes a lot of variations in the local temperature and pressure that causes rise of the local winds. The important local winds I've mentioned here, we have Sirocco winds that is blowing from the North Africa toward the Mediterranean Sea, and then it meets the European continental land masses. These winds carry with themselves large amount of red sand particles, and when rainfall happens, the rain is called as a blood rain because of the red sand particle dissolved in the rainwater. Similarly, we have Mistral and Bora winds that is coming from the continental part of Europe and moves toward the Mediterranean Sea. This is because of the winter during the winter season we have high pressure due to low temperature in the continental Europe, and over the water body we have high temperature and low pressure. Due to this, wind moves from high pressure area to low pressure area, and these wind move at very fast speed because they move between the valleys, they move between the mountains, and thus due to funneling effect their speed is very much higher, and thus Mistral Bora also causes large scale uprooting of the trees and electric poles and cables. Many times the traffic is disturbed. So this is the major effect of Mistral and Bora. Apart from that, we have Levant wind that flows in the west to east direction. We have Westerlies wind. We have Mediterranean wind. So these are the local winds that we can see developing around the Mediterranean region. Now, as far as the natural vegetation of Mediterranean zone is concerned, we have four distinct kind of natural vegetation that develop here. For example, in those area of Mediterranean climatic zone where rainfall is greater than 25 inches, that means when the rainfall is greater than 56 centimeters, in those area we see the development of evergreen forest. While on the other hand, as you move away from this high rainfall zone, and if you go at a higher elevation, so in higher elevation, we obviously, it is a highland region. Temperature, as we know, decreases altitude. So we have cooler highlands, and due to this cooler highland, we have evergreen tree, but of coniferous varieties that develop here. So you have trees like spruce, you have trees like larch, you have trees like pine, cedars. So these are the type of trees that you will see developing in this coniferous forest. In evergreen forest, oak is very, very important tree here. And the wood of the oak tree is also used for making the corks of the wine, because wine production is very important activity, one of the major economic activity as far as the Mediterranean climatic region is concerned. So oak tree in the evergreen forest, cedars, large pines, cypresses, these are trees in evergreen coniferous forest. And then we have the bushes and shrubs which make up the major part of the natural vegetation of this particular climatic region. They cover a large area of Mediterranean climate. However, bushes and shrubs are found in lowland areas. However, mostly they are thorny and clumpy in nature, and that is why these are not very important, not very utilizable as far as its importance is concerned. Last, we have grass. Large area of Mediterranean climatic region is also covered by grasses. However, these grasses are not very nutritious. They are wiry and bunchy grasses, and that is why this cannot be used for grazing by the cattle. And that is the reason you see that development of the cattle-based industry, dairy-based industries are lacking in the Mediterranean climatic regions. But overall, what we can say, we have four types of natural vegetation we can see depending on the height as well as the variation in the rainfall. Now, coming to the last point is the economy of the Mediterranean climate. So, as we discussed, Mediterranean climate receives most of the rainfall during the winter season, and during the summer season, since it is a dry kind of climate, thus large number or variety of crops, agriculture, fruits, and all these things cannot develop here. However, we see the development of citrus fruits, and the orchards of citrus fruits are very, very important part of the economic activity here. Orchard of citrus fruits such as we have lemons, oranges, we have olives. Olives is one of the most important tree of the Mediterranean climatic region. These trees develop because the citrus fruit have very deeper roots, and that is why even though there is a lack of water, these roots can penetrate much more deeper inside the ground surface and can extract the groundwater from there. Not only that, even if you look at the citrus fruits, their outer covering is very, very thick, and that is why the rate of loss of water by transpiration is also lesser. So it is due to these two reasons the citrus fruit are the best trees or best kind of what I can say plant that can develop in the Mediterranean climatic region. Then, as far as the crop cultivation is concerned, crop cultivation can only be carried out in those part of Mediterranean where you have either rainfall greater than 50 centimeters, or you have some sort of small to large water bodies, and around that water bodies, crops such as wheat, winter wheat, as well as barley can be cultivated. The third important economic activity, though not carried out at a very large scale, is the sheep rearing. And sheep rearing is done in the highland areas where some sort of grasslands have developed due to small amount of rainfall. And generally, the people who are engaged in sheep rearing, they take part in activity that is referred as transhumance. Transhumance is nothing but simply the movement of people from the low-lying valley areas to the highland upper slope of mountain and then coming back. So this is a type of what we can refer as a circular migration. So what happens during the summer season, as the snow melts in the highland areas, then grasslands are open, and the animal herders along with their cattle, sheep, and other animals, they move to the upper slope of the mountain. However, when winter comes back, the snow start to accumulate here, the grasslands begin to cover themselves with the snow, and that is why then the cattle along the animal herders along with their cattle and animals move back to the valley area. So this circular motion between summer and winter is what we refer as transhumance. This is also very, very common activity in the Himalayan regions of India, where we have tribes such as Bakarwal tribes, we have Gaddis tribes, they take part in such activity. The fourth and the most important economic activity of this particular region is the production of wine, and the cultivation of fruits for wine manufacturing is referred as viticulture. And the most important crop, the most important fruit that is used for viticulture is obviously grapes here. As far as the data is concerned, it is believed that around 85% of grape that is cultivated in the Mediterranean region is directly used for the production of wine. And the Mediterranean part of Europe is one of the largest producer of wine in the world. And not only the producer, it is also believed to the region that is the largest consumer of the wine in the world. And that is why you have large variety of wines that has developed in the Mediterranean zone. For example, you have France, cognac from France, you have port wine from the Portugal, you have Chianti from Italy, and thus similarly all the countries have specific wines for which they have already received geographical indication tag. So if we look at the top wine producers of European Union, we can see most of the countries here are Mediterranean countries such as Italy, Spain, France, and Portugal. So these are the major economic activity that is being carried out in the Mediterranean climatic region. So that is all for this particular region. And because of this wine cultivation, you can also understand the importance of wine cultivation, wine manufacturing here by the words of Thucydides, who was an ancient historian and a very well-known historian, and he has said that the people of Mediterranean region began to emerge from barbarism. Barbarism is a stage of society which is slightly below the civilizational stage, and when they learn to cultivate the olives and the wine, that is only when the Mediterranean people began to emerge from barbarism to the next stage of a civilization. So that is how we can understand the importance of citrus fruit plantation as well as wine manufacturing in this particular region. So I hope you understood about the basic points about the major characteristic of Mediterranean climatic region. If you like the video, please hit the like button, share it with the full aspirants, as well as subscribe to our channel for more such content. Thank you very much.